as we observed in our 12-hour stay at the square on Monday, almost all of those tents that you see in that so-called sacred circle are empty. In fact, a couple of tents actually blew away. There's literally nothing in them, and they had to be brought back to the circle. The ringleaders are based in the major big tents. That's where I believe the cooking equipment is and whatnot. And yes, they were told on Friday they were found guilty of, I believe, 11 sections of the Trespass Act. And they were supposed to leave today, Monday, but, well, the devil's in the details, isn't it, folks? Because the language of the trespass notice was the city may evict them, not will evict them. So take a look at this footage. We're going to the Sheraton Hotel, really just to get away from this mob. And there is a lady who is following us, and she said something astonishing. Basically, she's going to the Sheraton Hotel as well, not to harass us, but because she's a registered guest. She even took out her key card and showed it to us. Check it out.
Why not? I have to remove this hotel. Yes, can I show you my key? Yeah. I don't have a hotel. I have 2 room keys to the Sheraton right here.
Let me see the front of it.
So I can enter the hotel because I'm paying to sleep here.
So isn't that interesting? I mean, here's this group. They're all about anarchy. They're all about systemic racism. They're all anti-capitalist and about tearing things down. But when it comes to the ringleaders of Afro-Indigenous Rising, you think they're staying outside overnight in this humidity in a tent with no plumbing? No, they're going to the Sheraton Hotel where the average room is over $200 a night. You know, it is incredible. We saw this exact same phenomena back in the days when Ezra and I were at Sun News Network, the tent city at St. James Park for the protest of the day then. That we proved with an infrared camera that the vast majority of the tents were empty and they were staying mostly at the Holiday Inn down the road. And then in February, you may recall, I went to Ottawa. Remember Anne Cognito, not her real name? She allegedly walked from Calgary to Ottawa and set up a filthy tent city at the War Memorial in Ottawa in order to get a meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, whose office was across the street. Well, I went a call in her in the wee hours of the evening, and here's what we found back in February. Hi, we're just seeing if there's anybody in this encampment, and we've gone to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tents so far. Is there's someone in this tent here?
You seem to be talking to someone, so I guess the answer would be yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Would this be Anne Cognito?
Who are you?
I'm David Menzies with Rebel News. I think we met a couple of months ago.
Okay, goodbye.
Well, there you have it, folks. Fake, fraudulent, and phony. The Afro-Indigenous Rising Collective is really akin to the old Pontiac Fiero, all show and no go. So why is Mayor John Tory continuing to negotiate with these flim-flam Antifa types when they've already been served with trespass notices? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. The mayor is still testicular challenged, so the entire city and its law-abiding citizens must suffer in the meantime. What an incredibly bad joke. In any event, you had much to say about this phony baloney con game being played out at Hogtown City Hall, so let's get right to it. Liberty or Death writes, it was obvious from the beginning, everything is fake, fake virus, fake orders, fake people, fake political movements. Yes, liberty or death, it's a scam. So the question is, why are the powers that be tolerating this utter nonsense? Cottage Country Bruce writes, Toronto is a dangerous place to be avoided. You know, I'll say this, Bruce, this is not the Toronto of my youth. This is not the Toronto that I once loved so much, and it doesn't have to be this way. But unfortunately, we have too many gutless political leaders that suffer from paralysis by analysis thanks to political correctness. Love is the Answer writes, don't be surprised if somehow our taxes are paying for this. You know, good point, Love is the Answer. So many of these professional protesters are unemployed and unemployable. I wonder how many are taking advantage of the CERB in order to stay at swank downtown Toronto hotels. Terrence Appleby writes, let's call it what it is, astroturfing, the attempt to create an impression of widespread grassroots support for a policy, individual, or product where little such support exists. You know, Terrence, that is exactly what it is. They want you to think this is a movement. It's nothing but a scam. Chris B. writes, Afro-Indigenous, what is this even supposed to mean? An acknowledgement that they are in the wrong country? Hey, let's not forget that a big chunk of these protesters are as white as Snow White, but I guess those Caucasians identify as being Afro-Indigenous because, hey, that's how the loony left rolls these days, folks. And Brad Zemla writes, Rebel, you should dig deeper. This seems very suspicious and seems like those protesters were being funded if they can afford $200 a night hotels and tents that are empty. I totally agree, Brad. With every story, the golden rule is to follow the money. Someone or some organization with deep pockets is funding these lunatics. Hopefully, we can connect those dots in the weeks to come. If you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com, and if you're able to make a donation, you know we like to bring you the other side of the story, but there are some violent types that like to prevent us from doing so, and that means we have to hire security.